FNAF being as old as it is, it clearly has some missing links. The lore we've established is so convoluted and confusing that honestly we aren't even sure if it's actually correct. But then there's the urban legends, okay, little stories we've believed throughout the past 8 years that really make us question just what about the series is real and what is a hoax. And those urban legends that eventually prove true that I also missed last time are what we're exploring today. Let's do it. In at 10, AFTON possessed. A long time ago I made a passing comment that AFTON wasn't actually dead. People were mad that I didn't put SPRINGTRAP on the original scariest animatronics list, and aside from him being literally so unscary that they had to make a whole new game to compensate, I also argued that since he's just a guy enhanced by robotics, he wasn't an animatronic and instead a cyborg. And in the great terms of Fallout 4, nobody liked that. Even when I cited the fact that even MatPat pointed out that SPRINGTRAP never dies, but that's aside the point. However, I was in fact proven correct when the story of the man in room 1280 came around to show us that William was unable to die thanks to the spirit of the one you should not have killed, a young boy with an alligator mask in the books who was keeping him alive so that he could suffer for his crimes. And until this day, most people still won't accept that despite it being proven, okay? They take him off life support in the book and he's still kicking after that, okay? So whether this hospital experience actually happens or not, the point of the book was to show us that AFTON was possessed and that's how he survived, okay? Someone needs to update the wikis, because they still say that he died as a human. He didn't really die until like the FNAF 6 fire, maybe when he became a sentient code, if we want to consider that dying. In at 9, the Golden Killer. I am absolutely positive that the FNAF universe has plenty of urban legends about these restaurants. I mean, like, how could they not? A place where kids keep going missing that then gets shut down and reopens almost every 5 years. If that's not a cause for urban legends, I don't know what is. Christ, this is one of the most horrifying stories a parent could ever hear about. Like, if anyone so much as looked in our direction wrong as a kid, my father would ban us from returning. It was insane, and I'm honestly surprised that he didn't me. Either way, there must be tales of the Golden Killer that would dress in an animatronic suit and lure children away with the promise of free tickets and pizza. Obviously used as a cautionary tale by parents about the dangers of talking to strangers, but I think they may not realize how close and how serious these stories actually are, especially given that the Pizzaplex, at least when it's open, is still packed full of children despite 9 kids already going missing there. In at 8, SPRINGTRAP, another urban legend from the FNAF universe that's also in the FNAF universe, like it's from the FNAF universe but also inside the FNAF universe, is SPRINGTRAP. The whole point of SPRINGTRAP was that he was an old animatronic that still worked that they set loose in the Fazbear Fright horror attraction. The attraction that was a replica of the old Freddy Fazbear's Pizza located inside an actual amusement park meant to revive the decades-old urban legends that surrounded the establishment from 30 years ago. SPRINGTRAP's whole purpose was to be an urban legend. If we got to see more from like the actual universe, like materials and newspapers, I'm sure that they would have marketed the only working animatronic as horrifying and actually possessed by one of the original victims, all while being unaware that it was actually the killer that they had set loose once more. From a story standpoint, I see why they had to do it like this. It actually like puts stakes back into the series because the killer's out again. But my real question is, why did Henry sell the location, okay? I mean, like, they bought the place to get scraps, right? So why did Henry sell it if he was just planning on burning it down? Like, why risk William getting loose? Why even burn it down when he was already trapped in the room and had been stuck in there for 30 years, okay? It seems painfully stupid in my opinion. Dude, you don't need to sell it, okay? Just let him suffer. And at 7, AFTON possessed. See how I changed the inflection? This time I put the emphasis on AFTON instead of possessed. That's because this time around, AFTON is the one doing the possessing instead of the one being possessed. Yes, we originally assumed that Vanny was going to be possessed by GLitchTrap, aka William AFTON, aka the coded digital version of AFTON's consciousness that possessed a VR video game. Yeah, but it definitely wasn't something that could be proven at the time. But after the release of FNAF Security Breach and the discovery of the therapist tapes at the end, we know that this theory was in fact correct. Vanessa did get possessed by GLitchTrap at the end of FNAF VR, and then AFTON used her to get back to his old body. However, now it seems that both versions of AFTON are kicking around, assuming that the blob didn't destroy Burntrap, something which we also still don't know, and probably won't know until the DLC comes out, or even maybe the next game, or maybe even a book, hell, maybe even the movie. And it's 66666 Custom Night. In the good old days where all we figured was that we were criminals stuck in purgatory, we thought that all the secrets of FNAF could be solved using the game's Custom Night, where you'd set the different characters to specific difficulty levels, and then you'd see if you can make it through. However, one such suggestion, the 666 suggestion, was in fact not the case. By setting the latter 3 animatronics to level 6, it was rumored that the kitchen camera would be unlocked and then you'd have audio as well as visual for this night. But that turned out to just simply not be the case, because well, if you look at the game files, there is no visual for the kitchen camera. Meaning that no matter what, unless you added a version of it yourself, there would be no way to unlock that camera. And this wasn't the only time we'd end up getting trolled by FNAF 1 Custom Night, since later on the Custom Night having the code would indeed become true. However, that code was 1987 and it would just jump scare you instantly with Golden Freddy, which is literally the worst thing ever. Halfway through into number 5, John Wayne Gacy. Clown Springtrap is Springtrap's 3rd skin in FNAF AR and the 3rd skin to be introduced in the Dark Circus event. In addition to looking like a horrifying clown, he carries around a very large red mallet in his left hand. And considering how clowns are one of the most common fears in the world, with more people in the States being scared of clowns than global warming, or even terrorism, I think putting Clown Springtrap on this list is definitely understandable, because, you know, John Wayne Gacy. This man, okay, he's like Harley Quinn, but not cute, and basically still meant to be a reference to John Wayne Gacy, at least as I understand it. John Wayne Gacy being a serial killer who used to do kids shows dressed as either Pogo or Patches the Clown. An inspiration that was assumed but not confirmed seemingly until this skin. It's also worth noting that this skin looks a lot like the supernatural version of John Wayne Gacy's ghost, so I feel like that's where the connection comes from. Plus, you know, a clown killer. In at 4, FNAF Remake. For a while, we'd heard rumors of a FNAF remake. One that would be so utterly terrifying that we would forget all about the horrific implications it would have to the lore. But honestly, it was just that. Theories, rumors, speculation, legend. Until the announcement of the Fazbear Fanverse initiative. In that announcement, we were indeed proven, at least somewhat correct, with the lineup containing FNAF Plus, a reimagining of the first Freddy Fazbear game being created by FizzNom, the creator of A Shadow Over Freddy's, Porkchop's Adventure, and a major contributor to the original Pop Goes fan game. Originally, FizzNom was creating a remake of FNAF 2, known as Five Nights at Freddy's 2 Open Source, later renamed to another FNAF fan game, Open Source, as practice for learning a new game engine. But since the game wasn't really a transformative remake of the original FNAF 2, Scott Cawthon did take the game down, because it was literally basically just FNAF 2. However, he was intrigued with the project and contacted FizzNom about making a original FNAF 1 remake, which now he is. Getting close to the end into number 3, Bunny Man's Urban Legend. Okay, so, you know, I play video games to disconnect from reality. I'm sure some of you do too. When I play like super hot in VR, I know that I can't really do it in real life, because I can't catch guns, but I can slow down time. But when scary games like FNAF are all of a sudden connected to real life horrible events, it's not really all that easy to play, and you know what? I hardly played them to begin with. Vanny is a follower of Glitchtrap, okay? You know that. She's the main villain of Security Breach, but players noticed something similar about the game's antagonist. Something connected to something very real from the 70s, the Bunny Man. In Fairfax County, Virginia, back in the late 70s, residents would report sightings of a Bunny Man who would run around and terrorize locals. They say the Bunny Man disappeared in the early 80s, but maybe they just disguised themselves as an animatronic, okay? Maybe the Bunny Man's still out there. You thought that Easter was a good idea? Ha, no, not anymore. Good luck sleeping tonight. Plus, I mean, Security Breach does have a very 80s aesthetic, so maybe this is where Bunny Man went. But ultimately, in at number 2, the Missing Children's Incident. The Missing Children's Incident was an event that occurred in the first Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location, at least from the first game, presumably in 1985, a series of unsolved murders committed by William Afton. In the first game, the incident was mentioned in newspaper clippings, occasionally seen replacing the Rules for Safety sign, normally appearing in the East Hall. The 4 mascots, Freddy Fazbear, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, all also had particularly foul odors and what appeared to be blood and mucus around their eyes and mouth, which concerned parents and legal guardians and decided to akin to reanimated carcasses, since they, quote, noticed what appeared to be blood and mucus around the eyes and mouths of the mascots, and they didn't check inside them for bodies. The children were never found, somehow, and presumed dead, and the restaurant ended up closing by year's end, which didn't stop them from reopening in Fazbear's Fright, and then with FNAF 6, and then again with the Pizzaplex. So yeah, needless to say, there's a whole load of issues surrounding the brains of the parents in this universe. And finally, in at number 1, the bite of 87. Was that the bite of 87? No, Markiplier, it was not. The bite from FNAF 4 was in 1983 and often called the chomp or the bite of 83. Okay, the bite of 87 was an incident that occurred in 1987 at the second Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location. It was briefly mentioned by Phone Guy in the first game and it had us hooked from the get-go. The details of this attack and the identity of the animatronic responsible are really unknown, but it allegedly caused the victim to lose their frontal lobe, you know, the front part of their brain. The victim actually ended up surviving the attack, but the incident contributed to a loss in the company's reputation, understandably, which was one of the numerous incidents that resulted in a major drop in business. But not forever, for some reason. As a result of the incident, the animatronics were no longer allowed to wander around during the day. Instead, management decided to let their free roaming mode be exclusive to night so as to prevent their servos from locking up, which is not how servos work, but maybe it's how they work in this universe. Some fans think that Foxy caused the bite, others think Freddy, Mangle, some even think that Chica might have done it. However, it's pretty generally accepted that Jeremy from FNAF 2 is the one who got bit. But I propose the possibility, okay, I'm not saying this is true, but it's an idea, that Afton himself is actually the one who got bit, which could have caused him to go even more berserk after the missing children's incident. Since, because you know, his frontal lobe was removed, he would no longer feel fear, as described by Mappet in his FNAF 4's wrong theory. I mean, that theory was wrong for the outcome, but not for the science, so maybe Matt was onto something. That's all the time we have for today, friends. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been in Charming Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video.